G1 Optimus Prime. This is where it all started, and nothing before or since has hit the same way. Generation 1 Optimus Prime debuted in 1984, and immediately became the gold standard for what a fictional hero is supposed to be. Not just in cartoons either. In anything. The guy is a semi-truck. A Peterbilt cabover that transforms into a giant red and blue robot with a faceplate and the voice of a man named Peter Cullen, who sounds like God decided to go through a warrior phase. The premise sounds absurd when you say it out loud, and yet somehow G1 Optimus Prime is one of the most morally serious characters ever written for a children's show. He doesn't want power. He doesn't want glory. He leads the Autobots because nobody else can do it better, and someone has to. His whole design philosophy is working-class American. He's a truck, not a sports car, not a fighter jet. A truck, the kind of vehicle that hauls freight across a country that's too big to care about you. And that's exactly what makes him resonate so deeply. He works for it. Every fight, every decision, every sacrifice feels earned because Optimus Prime isn't operating from a position of comfort. He's operating from conviction. His relationship with the Autobots is the emotional core of the entire original show. He remembers their names. He mourns their losses. That's the character in one image. He is the blueprint. Every version of this character that came after him is either building on what he established or reacting against it. G1 movie Optimus Prime, the 1986 Transformers animated film, is one of the most emotionally violent things ever done to a generation of children. Optimus Prime dies in this movie. Not a fake-out death. Not a cliffhanger. He dies on screen in the middle of the film, surrounded by the Autobots he loves, passing the matrix of leadership to Ultra Magnus with his last breath. The decision to kill Optimus Prime was a business one. Hasbro wanted to clear shelf space for new toys. The writers were told to kill the original cast, and they did it with a level of commitment that nobody expected. What makes this version significant is what his death reveals about the character. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't calculate odds. He moves. Because that's what he does. The resulting fight is brutal by any standard. Both of them are falling apart by the end. Megatron gets the final shot in, and Optimus Prime collapses. The scene where he slowly dims and goes still while the others watch is genuinely one of the most affecting sequences in 1980s animation. The response from the public was so catastrophic that Hasbro brought Optimus back. This version matters because it proved Optimus Prime wasn't just a toy. He was something people actually needed. Laser Optimus Prime Generation 2 in the early 1990s reintroduced Optimus Prime with a design that reflects a shift in both aesthetics and marketing priorities. Laser Optimus Prime replaces the classic cab-over truck with a more modern long-nose semi-truck and adds brighter color accents. Within the fiction, this is still the same Optimus Prime, but visually and functionally updated for a different era. The characterization does not radically change. He remains a straightforward heroic leader, but the presentation is more aggressive and visually intense. This version matters less for what it does in story and more for what it represents externally. The first major attempt to modernize Optimus Prime for a new audience. Star Convoy. Star Convoy represents one of the most significant evolutions of Optimus Prime in the Japanese Generation 1 continuity. This is Optimus Prime rebuilt after destruction, returning in a new body designed around increased scale and power. The design shifts from the grounded semi-truck aesthetic into something closer to a mobile fortress. Larger, more imposing, less about relatability and more about presence. But the core character remains intact. Star Convoy is still Optimus Prime in terms of behavior. He leads directly and prioritizes the safety of others. The difference is that the narrative treats him less like a soldier and more like a symbol that has already proven itself. God Jinrai. Super God Masterforce took the concept of Optimus Prime and approached it from a completely different angle. Jinrai begins as a human truck driver who becomes bonded to a trans-Tector body modeled after Optimus Prime. This is not a one-to-one Optimus Prime, but within Japanese continuity, he effectively fills that role. The transformation into God Jinrai turns the character into a full-scale Autobot leader figure. What makes this version distinct is the human foundation. Jinrai's decisions come from a human perspective first, filtered through increasing responsibility as he steps into a role that mirrors Optimus Prime's legacy. He grows into leadership rather than starting with it. Optimus Primal. Beast Wars introduced Optimus Primal, the leader of the Maximals. He transforms into a gorilla. What Primal shares with his predecessor is the moral weight. He leads through example and struggles with doubt in ways the original never explored. Beast Wars was serialized, and Primal carried consequences episode to episode in a way that made him feel real. His relationship with Dinobot is the emotional spine of the series. A reformed Predacon who follows him out of honor, not loyalty, and Primal respects that distinction. The moment Dinobot dies is one of the best episodes in Transformers history, and Primal's grief is handled with rare maturity. Beast Wars understood that you can have grand mythology and still be grounded in character, and Optimus Primal is the proof. Robots in Disguise Optimus Prime 2001. This one is the wild card that most people forget forget existed. Released in 2001, Robots in Disguise was a Japanese series called Car Robots that Hasbro localized for American audiences, and it features an Optimus Prime who transforms into a fire truck. Not a semi, a fire truck. This Optimus is lighter in tone, more openly heroic in the classic Saturday morning sense. He's warm and a little goofy in a way that G1 Optimus rarely allowed himself to be. He can also combine with his trailer to form a powered-up super mode. Robots in Disguise sits in an awkward position in the timeline because it doesn't quite connect to either the G1 continuity or what came after it. It exists in its own bubble and gets dismissed because of that, which is a shame because the writing is sharper than it gets credit for. He's just a good guy who turns into a fire truck and tries his best. Sometimes that's all you need. Armada Optimus Prime, the Unicron trilogy begins here. Armada debuted in 2002 and introduced an Optimus Prime who was beefier, slower, and surrounded by minicons, small transformers who could attach to other robots and power them up. The toy gimmick was baked into the show's mythology in a way that actually worked because the minicons had their own story and stakes. Armada Optimus is interesting because he spends most of the series losing. Not dramatically losing either. Just losing in the way someone loses when the universe seems to be actively against them. His relationship with Megatron is one of the more nuanced takes on their conflict. Armada Optimus dies near the end of the series. He sacrifices himself against Unicron and then comes back. Of course he comes back. He always comes back. The Armada version is imperfect. The animation is rough and the pacing drags, but the emotional core holds up. When Armada Optimus commits to something you believe it. Energon Optimus Prime. This is the controversial one. Energon was the sequel to Armada and is widely considered the low point of the Unicron trilogy. The animation was early CGI combined with hand-drawn elements in ways that clashed constantly. The writing contradicted itself episode to episode. Characters forgot relationships. Optimus Prime in this series develops the ability to separate into components that attach to other Autobots, which sounds cool but created problems the production couldn't handle. Energon Optimus is also where the character's death became almost comedic. He dies multiple times. His spark is split. He's resurrected. He merges with Omega Supreme. He transforms into Optimus Supreme. He is essentially being used as the show's reset button. The actual character gets lost in all of it. His motivations are rarely clear. If the G1 film proved that Optimus Prime's death could be moving, Energon proved that repeating it without weight turns it into noise. What Energon Optimus does have is sheer scale. This version is enormous. The combined forms are impressive when they work. Cybertron Optimus Prime, the final chapter of the Unicron trilogy and widely agreed to be its best entry. This Optimus Prime is sleeker than his Energon counterpart. The writing gave him a cleaner motivation and a consistent relationship with the cast. Cybertron's story involves a black hole threatening to consume multiple planets and the search for cyberplanet keys to stop it. This puts Optimus in scenarios where he has to lead across different worlds and cultures. Each world has its own Transformer society, and Optimus has to earn their trust rather than assume command. That's a key distinction. The Optimus who earns loyalty is more interesting than the one who just has it. Cybertron also gives him one of the best final power-ups in the franchise. Galaxy Convoy can use the combined power of the keys to achieve a super mode with real impact. The toy was excellent, and the show used it meaningfully. Animated Optimus Prime. Transformers Animated took the franchise in a different direction by making Optimus Prime young. This Optimus is a rookie. He commands a small maintenance crew and has to figure out leadership in real time without the authority the G1 version had. This is a different character proposition. Animated Optimus fails. He makes bad decisions. He doubts himself openly, and his team sees it. The show treats this not as a flaw but as part of growth. By the end of the series, he becomes something that resembles his G1 counterpart, and the journey to get there feels earned. The design is bold and stylized, which divided fans at the time. In retrospect, it's one of the best designs in the franchise. Animated Optimus also gets one of the best fight scenes in any Transformers series, his final battle with Megatron. Bayverse Optimus Prime. Michael Bay's live-action films introduced the most financially successful version of Optimus Prime and also the most divisive. Bayverse Optimus is bigger than any animated version. He transforms into a custom Peterbilt semi-truck and carries a more intense, aggressive tone. The first film's Optimus is close to the original, noble, self-sacrificing, and curious about humans. Then the sequels changed things. Revenge of the Fallen gave him a combination mode. Dark of the Moon pushed him into a more violent direction, executing enemies and operating with an edge that divided fans. Some saw it as development, others as misunderstanding the character. Later films added more chaos, including turning him into Nemesis Prime briefly. Bayverse Optimus is the version most casual audiences recognize, which gives him weight. Whether that version represents the character accurately is still debated. Transformers Prime Optimus Prime. This one makes a strong case for being the definitive modern version of the character. Transformers Prime premiered in 2010 and features an Optimus Prime who combines the moral clarity of G1 with emotional complexity and visual weight. This Optimus has history. He was Orion Pax before the war, an archivist who became a leader through circumstance rather than destiny. He carries the matrix of leadership but treats it as a responsibility, not a symbol of importance. His relationship with the human kids, particularly Jack, is handled with more care than most series. He takes them seriously as people whose choices matter. The Megatron in this series is also one of the best versions, and their relationship has weight because they were once brothers in a revolutionary sense. They built their cause together before ideology tore it apart. When they fight, it matters. Transformers Prime Optimus also gets a strong death and resurrection arc. He loses his memories and becomes Orion Pax again, and the recovery of his identity is handled with patience. Peter Cullen voices him again. Rescue Bots Optimus Prime. This one exists in the same continuity as Transformers Prime, but is aimed at preschoolers and works perfectly for that audience. Optimus appears mainly in crossover episodes, but when he shows up he functions exactly as expected in a show built around helping people rather than fighting enemies. Rescue Bots is important because it represents the version of Optimus that introduces the character to the youngest audience. That's a specific responsibility. Being the first Optimus a child encounters matters. This version handles it by being warm, encouraging, and clear. He models leadership simply. He shows up and does the right thing without making it complicated. Robots in Disguise 2015 Optimus Prime. This Optimus operates out of Cybertron after Transformers Prime and communicates with Bumblebee on Earth mostly through visions while Bumblebee leads a team. This means Optimus spends most of the series as a distant voice of guidance. When he eventually returns, he is powered up and used as contrast against Bumblebee's growth. Robots in Disguise 2015 Optimus is positioned as a legend rather than an active leader, which allows the younger cast to develop. He doesn't dominate scenes. He elevates them. IDW Comics Optimus Prime. The IDW comic run created the most morally complex version of Optimus Prime by asking what it means to bring one civilization's values into another world's conflict. IDW Optimus arrives on Earth and has to deal with the consequences of making humans a target. He is not a simple hero. He makes decisions that get people killed. He makes political choices that fracture the Autobot cause. There is an arc where he effectively becomes a governing authority and must question whether he has the right to do so. This version explores what happens when a civilization built on war has to exist in peace. What does a leader defined by sacrifice do when there is nothing left to sacrifice for? These questions define the character. He is harder to love than G1, but easier to respect. Shattered Glass Optimus Prime. This is the version designed to unsettle. In this mirror universe, Autobots are the aggressors and Optimus Prime is a warlord. Cruel, manipulative, and obsessed with conquest. What makes it work is how familiar he looks. Same design, same presence, but completely inverted behavior. He treats his troops as disposable, lies without hesitation, and pursues victory with ruthlessness. The concept asks what happens when a symbol of moral leadership abandons morality. The result is disturbing enough to keep the character relevant despite niche appearances. Prime Wars Trilogy Optimus Prime. The Prime Wars Trilogy presents Optimus on a mythological scale. This is not a grounded version. This is Optimus dealing with artifacts, ancient primes, and cosmic consequences. He begins as a leader trying to stabilize a collapsing situation, and ends up confronting the nature of power through the matrix of leadership. The series leans into the idea of Optimus as both character and symbol. He is killed, resurrected, and transformed repeatedly, but here it is treated as part of a larger cycle. His decisions feel inevitable, as if he understands his role in something bigger than himself. The execution is uneven, but the portrayal is consistent. Cyberverse Optimus Prime. Cyberverse takes Optimus Prime and breaks him mentally. At the start, he has lost his memories and must rebuild himself piece by piece. This changes the structure of the character. Instead of a fully formed leader, you get someone rediscovering why leadership matters. That gives the character a different weight. Once his memories return, Cyberverse leans into classic Optimus traits. He is direct, principled, and focused. The show is faster and more episodic, but when it focuses, it works. His dynamic with Megatron is simplified into pure ideological opposition. Freedom versus control. Cyberverse Optimus works because it strips the character down and rebuilds him without trying to reinvent what already worked. Bumblebee film Optimus Prime. The 2018 Bumblebee film reset expectations. After a decade of chaotic live-action films, this version of Optimus Prime appears briefly but establishes a clear tone. His Cybertron design is modeled after the Generation 1 aesthetic, with proportions and color blocking that return to the original look. More importantly, his characterization returns to clarity. He is decisive, focused, and communicates with purpose. His role is limited but precise. precise. He sends Bumblebee to Earth with a clear objective: protect the planet and establish a base for the Autobots. That mission defines everything that follows. This Optimus does not need extended screen time because the film uses him as a reference point, a standard. You understand immediately what kind of leader he is. War for Cybertron Trilogy Optimus Prime. Netflix's War for Cybertron Trilogy arrived in 2020 and tried to show the beginning of the war on Cybertron before the mythology became legend. This Optimus is raw and uncertain. He is dealing with a collapsing Cybertron, resources running out, and a losing war. This version makes desperate choices. He agrees to use the EarthSpark in ways that might doom his own people because the alternative is extinction. He watches allies fall and keeps moving because stopping means accepting the end. The animation divided audiences, but the writing gave him a grim determination that fits the setting. Kingdom, the third chapter, brings in Beast Wars characters and pays off long-running continuity. Seeing him interact with Optimus Primal, a future descendant, is one of the better uses of Transformers mythology. EarthSpark Optimus Prime. Transformers EarthSpark introduced a world where the war is over. Autobots and Decepticons live on Earth under an alliance, and Optimus Prime operates in a world without constant battle. This changes the character. He is calmer, more reflective, and less defined by combat. He still leads, but in a different way. His interactions with humans are treated as real relationships. He listens, explains, and adapts. The introduction of the Terrans, a new generation of Transformers born on Earth, forces him into a role that is closer to mentor than warrior. This creates tension that cannot be solved with strength. He has to define responsibility in a new context. EarthSpark Optimus is less about spectacle and more about behavior. Transformers 1 Orion Pax and Optimus Prime. Transformers 1 presents the origin story. Orion Pax is a young data clerk who does not realize the system he serves is built on a lie. His friendship with D-16, who becomes Megatron, is central. Orion is idealistic because he has not been tested. The story focuses on the loss of that belief and what replaces it. By the time he becomes Optimus Prime, it feels earned. Not symbolic, but personal. The film emphasizes that Optimus Prime was a person first. That transition from individual to symbol is where the character's depth exists. Every version of Optimus Prime reflects that distance in different ways, and that is why the character continues to hold meaning. If you want to watch similar content in the future, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next video.